What's up, guys? How's it going? We are back with another video, and this time I wanted to talk a little bit about well, not even a little bit. I kind of want to really talk about the last Command Zone podcast video where they were talking about when you build decks that you hate. I really want to get onto that topic because there's so many things that I've experienced. Just like that topic alone just like made me think of so many things, like the conversations I've had at my local LGS with other people or new players or someone who's asking for help with a deck. There are so many things that go into that topic that I kind of want to add on to, not to like steal their topic, but just to like add on to the conversation, you know? So if you haven't seen the latest Command Zone video, which I may throw up on the screen just to show you in case you haven't seen it, they talked about building a deck that you then hate after you play it. You know, like what caused you to hate the deck after you built it, or like what did you not like about the deck where you either dismantled it or you realized it wasn't for you, type of thing. Me personally, I've built a ton of decks like that where I just built it because I was hyped about it. You know, I was excited. I thought, oh my god, you know, this commander is awesome. The idea of the commander, the potential of that commander seemed really good, and it just came down to something where I was just like, why did I build this? You know, and given that there are different reasons why something can be good or bad, one of the things I want to talk about that were good or bad for me, like starting out, I started playing Magic around 2017. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh my entire life, and the only reason why I switched over to Magic was because all my friends eventually switched over to Magic, and I told them I would stop playing Yu-Gi-Oh when Yu-Gi-Oh became worse than Magic, which I thought would never happen, which it did. And not saying like Magic sucks, but it was just like, for me, it just wasn't like when it's like when Yu-Gi-Oh just dies out to the point where it's just no longer fun and I can like focus on Magic being something different, or I need something to change to, then I would switch to Magic. And then the other stipulation I gave my friends was, you know, if Magic the Gathering ever goes to an Egyptian themed world and has Egyptian gods, which that happened, then I would get into Magic. So, you know, you can imagine my surprise making this ridiculous restriction, and then it actually happens, and everything happened. Yu-Gi-Oh took a huge decline with their master ruling change around 2015, 2016, which ultimately killed the game for a lot of people, and it hasn't even survived. Like it's been building back up, but as far as Southern California, it's still kind of but that led to me starting off, you know, playing standard in Magic. You know, I really got into Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation, and I really started to like Magic, and I really started to grow with it. So when I came to Commander with my friends and I felt confident enough to build a deck, Niv Miz the Perun was the first actual commander where I was like, I want to build this commander. I see the potential in this commander and I want to go for it. I want to play this dragon. This dragon looks really cool. You know, I had been experimenting with decks and ideas, but like, you know, I was just trying to like get a hang of it. You know, I was getting like, you know, whatever cards I had at the time and just putting them together. But as far as like a deck that I actually like, you know, bought cards and built the deck, was actually Niv Miz the Perun. So as a beginning player, the one thing I want to talk about is, if you're a starting player, don't be afraid to play the same commander that someone else is playing. I built Niv Miz and I hated it, only because everybody else had it at that time. You know, this was around the time when they were going back to Ravnica, and he was like a new legendary creature, and you know, there was a whole bunch of legendary creatures in that set, but a lot of people saw him and they were like, oh, this would be really fun, this would be really cool to play in Commander, excuse me. And I built it. You know, I built it my way, which was really good. It was really, you know, set forward. I had what is it, Exografted Skeleton on my Niv Miz, and you know, I was dealing poison damage. I had Death Touch on it to like kill off creatures, and you know, in my meta, our best player picked up my deck and he played it and he really liked it. He was a former competitive player, and he was like, man, this is really a good deck. You've built a really good deck. Why did you take it apart? And the reason I took it apart was because as a new player, I thought, well, you know, if 5 other people are playing the deck, I don't want to play the same deck that someone else is playing. And you know, I thought that was just me. I thought that was just an idea that I had as a new player. And I recently came across someone else who had that same issue, where, I don't know if I can find the commander, but they had this idea where they wanted to build this commander. They really liked the commander, and they decided to take it apart because someone else had it. So in my play group, we like to have a mono red deck, you know, just to like even the playing field. Like everybody has a mono red commander deck. I think it was Rihanna that person was playing, and you know, that's kind of like our way of just having fun. Like everybody just build a mono red commander deck and just we all play it, you know, eventually just to have fun, and even the playing field, and we let new people borrow our mono red decks to, you know, play with other people. And it was this commander. This person had played this commander. And the thing that bothered me was that they were like, oh, I really like this commander. I love the combo it does. But someone else at turn 0 has the more expensive version of it, and it makes me not want to play it. And, you know, it really made me angry that person said that, because it was like they were really passionate about the deck. They had really, like, you know, went and put the cards together. They had really, you know, like studied the deck and the deck list and finding the right creatures and, you know, finding the right combos, and they had a really good, strong deck. And the fact that they were willing to give up on their idea, give up on something that they were passionate about, just because someone else at another game store had the expensive version of the deck, and they were like, I don't want to play this deck because they have the better expensive version with all the expensive cards, and I just have a budget version and I don't want to play the same deck as them. And as new players, don't be afraid to play that commander. If you really like that commander, you know, if you really like that legendary creature, you like the deck, you put the time in, play the deck. Do not play the deck, you know, because if you're not playing the deck, then, you know, you're pretty much giving up to your own fears. You know, who cares if someone else has a more expensive version of it? So what? Keep playing it. You know, don't be afraid to play it just because someone else has it. And that's something that I didn't mean to like sort of be so angry about it or so passionate when I was telling this person not to stop playing this deck. It was because they were just like, they just kept bringing it up over and over and over about how sad they were about it. And it was like, yo, calm down, man. Like it's about having fun. You know, we all want to have fun. We want to see you having fun. You know, everybody wants to have fun when it comes to Commander. And if you've put in the time and the work to build this deck, don't take it apart because someone else has it. You know, play it. You know, your version is different than their version. And, you know, that's kind of the thing. Like with a lot of new players, they want to be unique. They don't want to copy someone else. You know, they want to do something different. And it's like, that's okay. But, you know, there are like millions of legendary creatures in Magic the Gathering. You don't have to worry about, you know, every time you come across someone who has the same commander as you. And as I told this person that day at our local game store, you know, if that was the case, then you would have probably a commander that doesn't work if you wanted to play a commander that no one else has ever played. You know, like if you want to be that unique, then you have to like go through every legendary creature ever made in Magic the Gathering and see who is not playing a certain commander. And they're probably not playing that commander because it doesn't do anything. You know, you'd be playing it just for the colors. And like that person kind of looked at me like, that doesn't make sense. And I was like, because every time you come across someone who's going to have the same commander as you, you're going to have to, you know, take apart that deck and dismantle that deck and then come up with a new idea. And that's wasting time and money and energy into building something that's so unique that no one else you come across is going to have it. You know, like it's, you know, when I play some of my commanders, some people will look at my commanders and they'll go, oh, you're playing this deck. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm playing something that's unique to me, something that you've never seen before, something that you're not going to see anywhere else. Yes, it's the commander is there, but the rest of the deck is not. And I'll show some of my personal decks eventually, but that's just something I wanted to talk about with new players. Just like, don't be afraid to play the deck that you want to play. Even going back to me with Niv Miz, I took that deck apart, and even to this day I kind of like think about it, even though it was a couple years ago. I still think back to that commander, but even still, he's not my playstyle anymore. And that's kind of the thing that I want to get into next with that conversation, is just learning your playstyle as a player in the game can make or break your decisions in building a deck. When it comes to being inspired and being excited about something's potential, or the possibility of how good something could be, versus how it fits with your mentality or your playstyle or your energy, can completely just make or break your experience. Like for me, there was a commander, let me think about this. Who was it? Oh goodness. Oh yeah, I can get into this. So I really liked, where is it? Grixis. No, I hate Esper. In Grixis, I really liked the Inala deck when the precon came out, right? So I was like, oh man, Inala is really cool. I seen somebody the first day the deck came out do this really awesome combo where they played Bloodline Necromancer, I think it was, the vampire wizard that brings another creature back. Then they copied it, and they brought another creature back. Like they brought like half of their graveyard back onto the field in like a whole bunch of ETB triggers, and it was like right after a board wipe. And I was like, that's cool. I want to do that, right? But I was like, I really like to play aggressive, so I really wanted to make ETB wizards that attack, that don't just have like an effect, and then once they use that effect they're done. They're just like cannon fodder on the field. I wanted to actually like swing and attack with wizards, which was unheard of, and everybody who I talked to was like, you're crazy, you want to attack with wizards? Like wizards don't attack like that. That's insane, that's ludicrous. And so I built the deck, and man, I hated it so much, because it wasn't my playstyle. It wasn't my playstyle at the time to build copy ETB effects. Like even though the tokens had haste, I was making copies of like 1/1 wizards or 2/2 wizards that were really low on the attack scale. And this was before Ixalan, so we didn't have like Vanquisher's Banner and all the other like tribal cards that eventually came out after this set came out. So we didn't really have that much stuff. There was Coat of Arms and a couple other cards, but I'm not going to play Coat of Arms and give everybody else who's playing like Dragon Tribal like plus 15 or whatever. So like I built Inala, and I really like Grixis, but I absolutely hated the deck, and no matter how many times I think about it, I always want to play the deck, because I'm like, I want to do that really fun explosive turn that one guy, that my one friend had when he first got the deck, where he was just summoning wizards, getting effects, drawing cards, searching for cards, casting instants and sorceries, getting instant sorceries back from the graveyard to the hand, or copying them from the graveyard or whatever, and then after a board wipe, bringing them all back to the field and then attacking for game. Like I wanted to do that because I saw something that I liked and that I was inspired by, but ultimately I'm not that kind of player. I'm not, it's the cool thing that I remember, but I don't remember how how irritated he was the entire game, because he was just like, ugh. There was one person playing Dragon Tribal. We all had the precon, all four of us. I was playing Vampires, and someone else was playing the Cat Tribal and the Dragon Tribal, and he was playing the Wizard Tribal. And up until that last point of the game, he was struggling the whole time. He was miserable. Like, he thought the deck was trash because, we all had bigger creatures. I was getting, plus counters and tokens on my Vampires, and the Cats were swinging in for big damage with equipments and stuff. And then the dragons are dragons. It's the best way I can put it. But he was struggling because wizards were so weak. And they are, like, Inala's pretty big for a wizard, and that's really cool. I want more wizards like Inala, where she's, a big 4/5 or, a 4/4 wizard. And there are a couple in there, but most of them were like tap to draw, or, tap another untapped wizard to draw, or, ETB effect, get an instant sorcery back from your graveyard to your hand, or cast instant sorceries from the graveyard and stuff like that. And it wasn't until like late game where he actually like comboed off and was able to win the game. And I always forget that because I think about the really cool thing that happened, so that's something that you have to keep in mind, that like, just because you see the potential in it doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. And it took me a very long time, because like even when I built decks, like, I've built so many decks that I've just taken apart, like, because I couldn't figure out what I wanted. And the problem with that was, it was me, not really the commander. Like, I had built so many Esper decks, because when I first started to play the game, when I was first introduced to the game, I should say, by friends in college, a friend of ours was a artifact specialist, so he taught me everything about Esper artifacts. And so when it comes to Esper artifacts, I know like almost everything. Like, if you ask me a question about, or if you ask me like, that's something that you need help on in person, you're like, hey, I'm building artifacts and I need to do this effect, I can tell you like every card off the top of my head that does that, or the strategy that you want to go for, or the cards that can help you out the most. And that's really as far as my knowledge goes. So when I started building decks on my own outside of these color combinations, I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue what I was doing with red green, or with Naya, or with Jund. And I found out that I loved Jund, but I have no commanders that I want to build with Jund. Like, I wanted to build -1/-1 counters in Jund, but there's no Jund commander that does that. You have the Scorpion God, which is a great commander for -1 counters, but that's only red and black. And then you have what's her name? I forgot her name. Hepatra, who's really good with -1 counters, but she's in green and black, and there's nothing in Jund that brings them together. So it just makes me sad that there are a lot of the times I can't build the commanders that I want, because there's nothing that helps that deck, and then getting into just that mindset of I'm exploring something new. I played Korvold the Cursed King, and I loved Korvold, but at the same time, I didn't want to just play 80 lands with 19 cards that support getting lands back just to play the most efficient version of Korvold. That to me was pretty boring, just playing lands, attacking with Korvold. I did that. I was able to kill people in like 3 to 4 turns one-on-one, but I wasn't really having fun with that. So I took that deck apart, and then I stopped playing Jund for a while. But getting back to Esper, the problem that I had personally with my growth was I really wanted to play Esper artifacts because that was what I was comfortable with. And I tried Alayla, I tried Shroom, I tried Sephiroth, I had a Centurplets deck which I tried. All of them were really good decks, and I built them very well, but I just wasn't enjoying them. And then recently, when Strixhaven came out, they added all that support for new cards, and I found myself wanting to add in cards that weren't in the colors. For for some effects like Alebo, the the golem, the new golem artifact commander, I wanted to add Alebo into my Esper artifacts, which then it was like, oh well, he's red, Esper's white, blue, black. And then it was like, okay, so I could play Brea, but then it was like, if I play Brea, then I don't really like Brea, so it's like, you got to experiment, but at the same time it's like, what do you really want to have fun with? And for me, it came down to the fact that I wanted to do more with my commanders, or I wanted to be unrestricted, and that's where I'm at now. So from 2017 to literally 2021, I just now started building decks that I like, and they wound up being 5-color decks. The reason why they started becoming 5-color decks was just because I feel unrestricted, and that's one of the biggest things, is just being unrestricted in what I want to play. So getting back to artifacts, I eventually built, which is a deck that I'll probably show here, maybe next week I'll probably build the deck list, but I wanted to build a deck around Tezzeret. So Tezzeret is my favorite planeswalker, period, in the game. Like, he's the reason why I'm still playing the game, because I love Tezzeret. Like, I love his dreadlocks. I love how he's like this artificer that has like artifacts in his arm, and he copies other people's work and puts it into himself, so he always has a copy or a blueprint of that artifact that he found useful. Like, I love Tezzeret, so I wanted to build Tezzeret Tribal. But Tezzeret Tribal is not something you can build around, because he's a planeswalker, not a legendary creature. So the Prismatic Bridge, thanks to a friend of mine, was the best option for me, because it gets me a planeswalker, or it has the possibility of getting me a planeswalker. And then when I started to think about it, I was like, okay, how do I want to build this planeswalker deck? This, not a Super Friends deck, but a Tezzeret Tribal. I wanted to focus around artifacts, because I love artifacts. So I started building it with the idea of what could Tezzeret use to benefit him in this deck building. And the more and more I started to put it together, the more I realized, I don't need instants and sorceries. I can put in my Dark Steel, my Blight Steel, because the Prismatic Bridge is going to get it on the field. If I top deck into it at the beginning of my upkeep, I can get it onto the field that turn. So I was able to add in the Alebo. I was able to add in the mana ramp from Tezzeret himself, and I'll pull up all the Tezzerets. But there's one Tezzeret that allows you to search for anything. Tezzeret the Seeker, my very first one. So my friends taught me that his minus X ability, you can pay X for 0 and get an artifact land from your deck to the battlefield. And I had all the new artifact lands from Modern Horizons 2. Long story short, like I just put everything I knew about Tezzeret together, and all the Tezzerets, because I have all of them, into one deck, and it worked. It worked great. I'll save everything else for when I do the deck tech. But like I said, from 2017 to 2021, I hated everything I built, and I've built so many decks, it's ridiculous. But the fact that it took that time, that effort, it took a lot of like my friends talking to me. Like, I built Wolfgar, and I thought it was a cool deck, but then I hated it. Like, it's just, and Wolfgar is by far, I think, an amazing commander for Gruul, but it's because of just the way he was. It was like, it felt so limited because he's attack tribal, and when you look at all the cards that you really have in red and green that say when creature attacks do this, it was like, well, I don't really have a lot of good stuff, because a lot of the good stuff that I like is like when a creature deals damage to player or planeswalker, does this. So it was like, crap. And another thing I want to talk about before I leave is just when someone comes to you with help, Listen to what they're saying. My friends had this problem, and I've noticed a lot of people have this problem amongst play groups. When someone comes to you and they're like, hey, I'm having trouble with this deck, I need some help, I need some guidance. Hear them out, because sometimes you could give them the wrong advice and it could totally ruin their experience, and it could ultimately lead to building them a deck that they hate. I saw this one case where someone needed help with a commander deck, and man, everybody gave them the wrong information. The person was like, I want to go aggressive, and instead of everybody trying to build the deck aggressive and attack frenzy crazy, they were trying to build for value. And they were trying to change this person's deck for value, but the person didn't want value. They wanted, attack crazy. They wanted to every turn attack with damage and, have evasion. They wanted to always get the maximum attacks out of their deck, and no one was helping them with that. They were like, oh, well, if you do this, you'll have more value and you'll get more draw and more mana ramp, and you'll be able to search out. And the person's like, oh, I could see it on their face. They were just like, okay, yeah, sure, that's great. And I kept asking them, I was like, what do you want? We were talking, and I was like, what do you want to do with the deck, right? And the person was like, I just want to attack. I just want to attack with big creatures and just attack every turn if possible. I was like, oh, that's completely different from all the information that everyone else is giving you today. And it started to make me think, because I could see, like, as they were playing it, it was too many hands in the pot, and it just wasn't enough focus. And the person got really sad about it, and they eventually fixed the deck on their own and made it something that they liked. But if someone's asking you for help, or if you're giving input, keep in mind what they want to do with the deck, not what you would do, because sometimes we get caught up in our own ideals, or our own thought process, or our own experiences of what we've had success with. But if someone wants to do something, let them do it. Build it to where they want to play it, where they like it, because then they're having fun, and we all want to have fun playing this game. We don't want to see someone who's sitting there who's sad or unhappy with themselves or unhappy with the deck, which was my case for years, or I'm sitting there playing the deck and I'm just like, I hate this. This is a horrible experience. I don't want to play this anymore. It brings down the enjoyment of everyone else around them, because everybody else wants to help. They want to, they want to have fun, and, they want to maybe, help, or they want to, they'll play a group hug deck next turn to help you play better. But when it comes down to everybody just having fun, whenever someone gives their input, keep in mind what they want to do. Ask them first, what do you want to do with the deck? How do you want to build the deck? What was your focus? What was your idea for building the deck? And see how you can help them progress that. If they want to build merfolk, but they want to build merfolk to where all their merfolk are unblockable because everyone has, an island, and all their merfolk have island walk or something, just off the top of my head, then help them with that. Don't go, oh, well, merfolk are so good, you can draw this many cards and you could counter what people are doing and you could steal people, like all this other stuff where they're like, okay, that's cool, but I just want to attack with unblockable merfolk, that type of thing. Keep in mind what the person wants to build and help them with that. So I think I've talked enough about this topic, but that's something that I just wanted to add on to the discussion. Just, as a new player, don't be discouraged from playing the commander that you want to play. If you want to play a commander and someone else sits across from you, cool. But also, people, keep in mind, don't try to make it a competition. And I see this every weekend when I go to play with my friends. If I play my Eldrazi deck, someone else automatically goes, oh, I have Eldrazi's. Let's see who built the better Eldrazi deck. It's that's not why I'm playing my Eldrazi deck. I'm playing my Eldrazi deck because I just want to have fun. I just want to relax. You know, I want to see the interactions. I want to, you know, I just want to have fun. I don't want to make this a competition of who's the better deck builder. That's kind of disrespectful in a way, where I've seen it multiple times, not just with me, but with other people, where someone will go, you know, back when Niv Mizzet, earlier, what I was talking about, some people sat down and they were like, yo, I have Is Mizzet, you know, Niv Mizzet, and someone else was like, I have Niv Mizzet too. Let's see who built the better version of it. That's kind of like rude, you know, just to challenge somebody like that instead of, you know, just playing yours. If you want to play yours against theirs, then say that, you know. But sometimes, like, I've always seen it rub people the wrong way, where they're just like, why are you comparing me to you? You know, like, I don't know how much money you have. I don't know how much money that you put into your deck, you know, and then, you know, you may not have the same ideas. So it's like kind of just something weird where it's like, okay, keep that in mind. just keep that in mind. It's something that's just a little odd that I notice people do in the community, but you know, always remember turn 0, talk about, you know, what your power levels are at. Ask somebody if they don't mind you playing your, you know, your whatever deck that's the same as theirs. And if you're a new player, don't be afraid to play everything, you know, try out everything. Who cares if someone else has it? But, you know, if it's something that inspired you, play it. You know, if it's something that didn't fit well with you, talk about it. Talk about it with other people, you know, see what you liked and what you didn't like about the deck or the commander, maybe, or maybe the colors. Sometimes the colors may be a problem. You know, have an idea and then talk to other people who are more experienced about it. And if you're that person that someone new is coming to, or someone who's not as experienced coming to you with questions, remember just to like ask them about their ideas, ask them about their mindset, and try to help guide them towards the path that they want to achieve, you know, instead of just, you know, information dumping them with a whole bunch of ideas that they, you know, that they didn't think about, which may be good, but, you know, keep it in a mindset where they can, you know, receive it well and understand it. So that's it for me, guys. I just wanted to talk about that topic, just to kind of talk about more things. Like, I think the Command Zone hit it on the head with that topic, with that video, especially talking with their crew. You know, they learned something. I learned something about CEDH and how people just want to have fun, you know, and it made me think about my experiences where I wasn't having fun, you know, and why. But also just like, we need to talk about this stuff more in the community, where we can help people build better decks, or maybe we can learn from our experiences, or maybe if someone's struggling and they want that deck to grow, they don't want, you know, they may hate it now, but they still want to invest in it. We can help them understand, you know, what it is that inspired them and what it is that they want to move forward with as far as the direction. So, you know, like I said, good topic. I hope to see more videos like that from the Command Zone. And, you know, overall, like, I want to get your guys' opinion. Like, are there anything that's bothered you, like that's bothered you guys, like when you play your decks, or when building a deck, or when you're inspired by a deck? Like, what are some things that you've noticed that are just like annoying? Is it the colors? Is it the restriction of the colors? You know, like for my case with my artifacts, was it like the restriction of colors and color identity that was a problem for you building certain decks? You know, or do the commanders not exist? I'm still waiting on my energy commander, Wizards of the Coast, but you know, that's a whole nother topic. You know, or is there a lack of representation in those colors, or in that theme, or for that tribe, or for that mechanic, for the Melvin players out there who have the hardest time, which I didn't even talk about, but you know, Melvin players have it the hardest, where they find a mechanic and they want to play it, but then that mechanic is so limited that they don't really have many options to build decks around them, and that sucks. You know, that's pretty, you know, that's pretty hurtful too, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here before I keep rambling on and on and on. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. All right, peace.